Welcome to Papa's Workshop. In today's video, I'm taking the opportunity to make two different ornaments. Now I'm using the same design that I used last year, but certainly I'm using a different technique to be able to make these ornaments. And today I want to show you exactly how I set it up and engrave these onto the laser. So let's get started. I want to take this opportunity to give a special thank you to all of the Patreons who support this channel. Your support is just unbelievable, and I certainly appreciate it very much. It helps me to be able to continue to make these types of videos. So Merry Christmas to you. The Christmas decorations that I'm showing here were actually done last year using the laser. Now I started out with the same process, and I had found these images on Google, brought them into the Lightburn software, and went ahead and engraved them onto the plywood. The problem is I didn't like so much white space. I was able to see so much of the wood and not enough of the decoration. Even though everybody absolutely loved them, and it was my first experience using the laser, I think it was rather successful. But what I want to be able to do is take this up a notch and use these same files I had saved from last year and redo and make some brand new decorations. Now earlier, and you have the video that you can look at, I made this one. And this was done, of course, on the laser. Now several years earlier, I had made these on the X-Carve. And this is the look that I want to be able to create. I want to be able to have it open so you can see through the different decorations and see the tree. I don't want to see all of that white space. That needs to go away. I'm opening up a brand new file for the Lightburn software. And what I'm going to do is come over here to my art library. Now, if you don't see the art library, just come on up here to the window and you can see it right in here. You can just click on it. But I'm going to click on the Christmas ornaments. Now, I have quite a few already set up. And what I want to be able to do is show you this template right here. This is what we're going to recreate. And what I'm going to do is set it up as a fill for right now so that you can see it. So this is what it's going to look like. Now, once you have this design, you can save it in your art library and you can bring it out anytime that you need to create a design. I'm going to go ahead and cut this one for now. And we're going to start out with the circle. I'm going to select the circle, and then I'm going to just hold down the shift and bring out a circle. By holding down the shift, it actually makes it where it's completely symmetrical. It is an actual circle. All right, let's highlight this, and I'm going to make this 3.5 inches. And just to make it easier, I'm going to go ahead and set this up as a line. And you can still see this just fine, I believe, in the camera. Now that I have my basic circle, I want to be able to use the Offsetter app. I'm going to click on this, and I want to extend this out 1/4 of an inch. So that's 0.25 of an inch. I do want this to go outward. Everything else is going to be fine, so I'm just going to hit OK. And now you see the two circles. Now we need a way to be able to hold the ornament up here. And to do that, I'm going to create another circle. Again, I'm going to hold the shift key down, and I'm going to make this 0.75 of an inch. And you can see right now I didn't catch and didn't hold down the shift key quick enough, so it came in really as an oval, but that's okay. I'll come right up here, I'm going to unlock this, and I'm going to set this at 0.75 of an inch. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Now I have the perfect circle. While I'm here, I want that inner circle so that the ribbon, the thread, the yarn, whatever you want to be able to hold the ornament to the Christmas tree is there. So I'm going to go ahead and make another circle now. And we'll just make this one 0.25 of an inch. Doesn't need to be that big. So now I have that circle. So let's go ahead and get out of the circle one. We'll go back over to this. And now I can just take this and slide it over. So you can see how it snaps. And it'll snap on the edge or it'll snap in the center. While I have this now, I'm going to go ahead and highlight both of them, and I don't want that circle to move. So I can come right up here, and you have two little icons. One is to ungroup, and the other one is to group. And I want to group this circle together. Now when I highlight it, everything moves at once. And what I want to do is slide this right down into this point. I think that's going to look good. So that's the basic shape for the ornament. Now what we need to do is start combining some things to make it get rid of all this stuff in here. So I'm going to highlight this outer circle, and I'm going to hold down the shift and highlight this one. Then I'm going to come over here and weld these two together. And now you can see the ornament is looking pretty darn good. That's the shape that I want. So let's just change it to a fill in case you can't see it real well in the camera. That's your basic ornament. Now at this point, I would save this as the template and go ahead and put it into the art library. But since I've already done that, I don't need to. But this is a template now that's going to be the basis for a lot of the ornaments that we're going to do. All right, so what I'm going to do is bring in this one right here. This turned out to be a real pretty ornament last year, and I want to make sure that this is all grouped together. So again, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to group it together. So now this is one piece, and I don't have to worry about all these little pieces in between. Next, I want to come over to the Offsetter app again, and I want to be able to have this come out at 0.07. I do want it to go outward. I'll click OK. Now, if you zoom in, you're going to see a lot of extra. Now, this is highlighted for the ornament itself, and I'm going to change this for right now to red. And you can see the red in here, and everything that is still blue was what was offset. So what I want to do is get rid of all of these in here. So let's just go ahead and highlight just the blue. And we're going to make sure that that is ungrouped. And I'm going to come right over here, bring these down. Now that I have all of the blue separated, and that was the offset portion. With this ungrouped, all I need to do is just move this outline out of the way, and it ended up not being ungrouped. But once I ungrouped it, I just slid the outline out of the way and deleted all those little pieces. From there, I just put the outline back on top of the candy cane, and that took care of it. And sorry, yes, I did lose the video on this, but that was the process that I went through. Now what I'm going to do is highlight this hole and everything, and I'm going to center it. Just like that. Now it's perfectly centered again by hitting this little bullseye here. Now with both of them highlighted, let's go ahead and bring it over into my template. Now what I want to do is expand this and get it to where the blue line is actually touching. So, and I want to be able to do that on all these points all the way around. So let's just go ahead and expand this out. Whoops, I didn't catch everything, so we'll just unmove it. Now if I grab it from the bottom right and slide it over, it'll catch everything. So I want to be able to, now let's just go ahead and expand this. We'll expand it over here. So that looks good. That looks good. I'm going to bring this back just a little bit. I actually think that looks good all the way around. Now the next thing I want to do is zoom in real close. We'll go right down here, and you can see how this is cutting into this. And I want to be able to eliminate that and basically join all this together. So what I want to do is highlight this one, and I want to highlight this one. Now I'm going to right click on this and convert it to a path, because this was done as an offset. Now I'm going to come down to the edit node, and I'm going to hover right over this and hit T. And when I come back to the selection tool, you can see that that has now been cut out. So I also want to be able to go ahead and I'm going to hover over, get to the edit node mode again, and I want to hover over this, and I'm going to select T again. And now you can see that that has been eliminated. So let's go back up here now. And we're at the selection tool, and that is perfect. That's what I want. So if I zoom back out, now you can see that that actually comes in and it forms this circle. But we have to do the same thing now on the other sides. So we'll come over here. We'll come down to the same thing so that you can see it up close. And I'm going to highlight this line right here, and I want to hold the shift key and highlight it. Now I have both of them selected. So I'm going to hover over this one right here. Oh, I need to get into my edit node mode. And now I'm going to hover over this and hit T. And you can see that's now cut away. And I'm going to do the same thing here, hover over this one, and that should do it. So let's get out of this now and go back to the selection. And you can see that took care of it. Now when we zoom out, you can see that the laser is going to cut right through here, and it will create this little window that will drop out. Now I've showed you 2 times exactly the process that needs to take place. So without being too repetitious, I'm going to go ahead and take care of this top portion on the left and right and do the exact same steps to be able to combine it or weld this together and be able to get rid of these overlapping lines. Once this is done, then we'll move on to the next step. Now I went ahead and zoomed out so you could see the entire ornament, and this is exactly what I'm looking for. These little windows will be able to drop out, and I'll be able to engrave just a candy cane. So I want the candy cane actually blue, and I'm going to change the settings on that because I really don't need to have that cut all the way through. That would not be good. But I want the outline and these little windows to be able to drop out. So I've realized that there's actually a couple of different layers here. One layer is a blue, and one layer was actually black. Now I went ahead and took care of just about all of them. They're either red or black at this point. So let's get the blue candy cane out of the way. And now I'm going to highlight all of this layer, and I'm going to group it together and make sure that it's all on the red layer, because that will make the cut process actually a whole lot easier. Now that all of this is grouped together, I'm going to go ahead and take the candy cane and slide it back over into position. And of course, it's going to snap right into the exact point that it needs to be. And that's what I love about the snap feature. Okay, let's take a look now and see what it's going to look like when we engrave this. Now everything in red is going to be on the 5 inches per minute and 95% power. And I'm going to be using the air assist on that. And that is going to look good. Now as far as the blue, we're going to click on this blue line. And I want to reduce this down. I'm going to leave the 70 inches per minute, but I'm going to reduce the power to about 60%. Now let's go ahead and take a look at this, and let's see what it's going to look like when we engrave it. Guys, that looks absolutely fantastic. And it's going to take about 16 minutes to be able to cut this out. And all of these pieces will drop away, and that is going to just look amazing. Now the nice thing about this is I can go ahead, grab it, this whole entire thing, and I'm just going to slide it over for a moment. We're going to zoom out some, and I'm going to come over here and bring in the template again. So there's the template. And let's say this time we want to bring the bells in. And I'm going to go ahead and change this to the red right now. And we'll just click on that. So now we have the cut setting, and that is actually done. And this time let's bring in the bells. There's the bells right there. Now for the moment, we're just going to go ahead and fill this in. This is on the black, so we'll just hit fill for right now. So that's what it's going to look like. But I want to do the same thing. I want to be able to do the offset. Now I'm going to set this over here. We're going to make sure that this is all grouped together. So that's all grouped. Let's go and use the Offsetter app now. I'm going to highlight it. We're going to offset this out to the 0.7 of an inch. And I'm going to hit OK. And let's switch this back to line so you can see. And that's what we have now. All right, so what we have is the bells are all grouped together. So if I grab the bells for an example, I can move the bells down and look at all the extra stuff in here. So what I would want to do is this group together. See how that's grouped together? So let's go ahead and ungroup it. Now, are these pieces individual? Yes, they are. So now what I do, just like we did last time, I'm going to highlight my outer side, just slide it over, and come back and cut out all the extra garbage that I don't want. So that is done. Now, this outer line right here, I'm going to go ahead and make it red also right now, because that's actually going to get cut out. And while this is highlighted, I'm going to go ahead and highlight this by holding down the Shift key, use my little bullseye, center it. Now this is centered. So now I'm going to go ahead and get everything, and let's slide it right up into place. Now we'll do exactly what we did before. Now at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and do the exact same steps that I used for the candy cane. Now I wanted to show you the beginning portion because I had lost a video on the candy cane. So this way, if you're still with me, you got to see exactly how I handled the offset and how I got rid of all those garbage pieces in between. Now what I'm going to do is finish this off camera, and I'm going to show you the finished product before we take it to the laser. Okay, now that we've got all these opened up, we can go ahead and do exactly what we did before. And I want to be able to go ahead and take this black, we'll change it to the blue. That way my cut settings are already set. And I'm going to take this out of the way for just a moment. And what are we going to do? I'm going to go ahead and just highlight everything, and we're going to group it all together. That way it will be one path, and that will be just perfect. And then I'll take my blue bells, slide that back into position, and that's going to make it a lot easier when it engraves. And that snaps right into the position that I need it. And now we're done. So how long is it going to take this one to be able to engrave? So let's take a look. And 32 minutes for both of them. That's not bad. So that's going to take about 15 minutes also. We already knew that this one was going to take about 15, 16 minutes. So there we go. We've got two ornaments that we can now be able to engrave, and they're going to look a whole lot better than they did last year. So let's move this over close together, and we'll get ready, and we'll go ahead and cut these two out. Now when I set this up to be able to cut all the way through a project, and I use this plain old cheap sheet metal. It's a 26 gauge piece of sheet metal, and I picked it up at one of the big box stores. So it's very inexpensive. Now I have it painted gray because when I do the acrylic, the gray seems to work real well. But I'll slide this under the laser first because this just actually helps to protect the surface of my workbench. And then I have just a very inexpensive cookie sheet that I use that I'll slide that in. And that gives a little bit of airspace between the material that I'm cutting and that sheet metal. And last, then I'll slide in the project that I'm going to be engraving. And that's really all that I do as for setup. Now, I'm going to go ahead and set the Z-axis. I can set the Z-axis by taking this 30mm cylinder and setting it right there and turning this right down until it touches. And that's all that's necessary. So the Z-axis now is set. So next, let's just go ahead and get everything else set up. Now, I have not even turned the laser on yet, but now it's time to go ahead and turn on the laser. Now, we'll be using the Air Assist today to be able to cut this out. And this is the Air Assist unit by the Fox Alien. So the last step that I always do is I frame the area. I want to make sure that I know exactly the area that's going to be engraved and that everything fits onto the project board itself. Now, the laser engraver that I'm using today is the Fox Alien 20-watt laser. Now, keep in mind, this same exact process can be done on virtually any laser. So if you have a different model, that's no problem. You should be able to use the same techniques to get very similar results. Now, one last thing that I want to do is I want the fill to actually cut first. So because I have the red line highlighted, I'm just going to go ahead and hit down arrow, bring that down to the second position, and that way it will cut and engrave the fill first, and then it will come through and do the cutout. All right, so let's go ahead now and hit start, grab the glasses, and let's get engraving. This is looking absolutely amazing. I love how this is coming out so far. At this point, the blue layer is complete. So all the engraving portion is done, and now it's moved over and starting the cut process. And that was the red layer. I want to zoom in real close so you can see the actual detail of the engraving and the cut process itself, and it's looking absolutely gorgeous. I'm not sure that I'm even going to paint this. I like actually how the engraving created a little bit of a shadow effect. I think I'm just going to put a clear sealer on it and leave these alone. So tell me what you think. Leave me a comment below. Should I go ahead and paint these, or should I just put them onto the Christmas tree the way they look, just as they are? So I look forward to reading your comments and seeing what you guys think. Okay, it's almost finished. You can see some of the pieces actually have cut all the way through and fallen out. So I can hardly wait to be able to get this off of the laser. Okay, it's all done. Let me go ahead and move the laser out of the way, and let's take a look and see what we have. So I'm just going to go ahead and slide this out of the way, and you can see the candy cane just completely dropped out, and that's awesome. These pieces just slip out, and it is done. That is just beautiful. That's the look that I want. And here's the bells, same thing. The results are amazing, and it's exactly what I wanted. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and spray the clear. Can't wait for your comments, and I'm going to get these hanging onto the tree. So now I have these brand new ornaments hanging on the tree. And yeah, I still have to add a ribbon to it, but I couldn't resist. Thank you for watching the day. I really appreciate you spending the time with me, and hopefully you'll be able to learn something so that you can create these types of projects into your shop. And I want to take this opportunity to wish each and every one of you a very happy holiday season. Merry Christmas to each and every one of you. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video that I do, whatever that may be.